Hi, this is Kat. Come a little closer. I have a few things I need to confess. Hi, this is Kat, and welcome to Kat Makes Knits. Grab yourself a drink, a fun project to work on, and let's spend a little time together. I'm so excited to have you here today with me. I'm going to be talking about my very first test knit, which is by the designer Svartsvenur. And I'm also going to be talking about my first time test knitter tips and tricks, a few confessions, if you will. So let me go ahead and grab my finished object to show you. This is the Bobo top by Svartsvenur. And I'm going to go ahead and back up a little bit so you can get a better shot of the whole thing. It's definitely a cropped length on me, but what's super fun about this design is the beautiful I-cord bows, these little straps that you make at the top. So you can really adjust how high up you want the top, or if you want it a little bit slouchy and a little bit lower. And it is super customizable. People have made dresses, longer tunic length tanks, crop tops. I've seen people style them for the beach with denim shorts, which is super cute. And also I styled mine for social media over a t-shirt, which was perfect for me running errands. But I feel like this yarn really needs to shine on a beach somewhere. So if anybody knows of any great beach vacation spots where this top could really see, the light of day, if you will, let me know. This is dyed by Cascade Yarns. It's their Noble Cotton. It's a hand-dyed yarn in the shade Miami. So I just want to go ahead and show you this beautiful pooling effect that this yarn gives. I at first had bought another shade of Noble Cotton, which was in a really pretty solid, almost like burgundy, sort of the darker purpley pink that you see here in the design. And I kind of went back and forth. Do I want to kind of knit panels and make it where it's kind of reversible? But these colors just took my breath away. And so we took a little vote in the test knitter group about whether I should just continue on fully in the hand dyed. And that was what the consensus was. So this top is really fun. Like I said, I could really see myself wearing it at the beach or the pool as a cover-up, kind of as it was designed by the designer. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this off to the side. My Ravelry page will have full details in terms of measurements, any modifications I made. I think the pattern is expected to be released at the end of July, early August. I don't want to make any commitments that the designer isn't comfortable with, obviously, but I'm going to go ahead and post on social media when it fully is live too, just saying, hey, go ahead and check out the pattern. It's available now for purchase. She's a wonderful designer. She was so fun to work with, as well as the other test knitters. And she is really known right now for her Isolde top, which I'm working on. I'm trying to get it off the needles before that trip I talked to you about in July. And the trip is getting closer, so the pressure is on. But I am really excited with how that's coming along too. So that'll be in my next podcast as hopefully an FL. Maybe I'll even be wearing it in the podcast. That would be super fun. So go ahead and check her out and support. She's a wonderful designer. Well, like I said at the beginning, I have a few things I need to get off my chest, a few confessions, if you will. So this is my first time test knitting, and I'm a teacher by trade. So I knew that this summer I wanted to make it a goal to be a test knitter. I have a little bit extra time. I can knit around nap times with my kids. And so I thought that would be a really fun challenge to set in my first year of like really getting into knitting. And so I have a few kind of do's and don'ts that I've discovered in this process. And spoiler, I technically are now signed up, or I just finished one, and I have two more test knits that I signed up for because I just couldn't resist. My first do is do apply to a lot of different test knits from a lot of different designers. Small designers, larger designers, everybody's creating art. Sometimes it's their first pattern, sometimes it's their 50th pattern. As someone who just kind of started her own, podcast, I understand that supporting small creators is super important. So if you see something that you love, apply for the test knit. The worst they can say is not this time, maybe next time. And there's so many different reasons why you may or may not be selected for a test knit. In terms of the test knitting process, I've seen it done a couple different ways. Everyone that I've applied to and been accepted to has been primarily held through Instagram as the announcement platform, and then you sometimes bounce around to different places to apply. So 2 of mine, I believe I applied through a Google form, and you fill out your name, your social media handles, the size you'd like to knit, and a lot of times that's a pretty strong commitment to the size because they're looking for an array of sizes to choose from. A lot of designers want you to say, this is the yarn I intend to use, although you can say, maybe this, maybe I'm thinking that. So it's not set in stone. You can still buy yarn after you're accepted into the pattern of testing, of course. And then I'm trying to think what else, just sort of anything else you want the designer to know. And then I also applied for and it got accepted into a test knit over on Yarn Pond, which I believe a lot of maybe smaller designers use it. It's more of a website that pools together different designers who are looking for test knitters and kind of does the matchmaking process that way. But that was a really clean, pretty easy to use interface, and I've been enjoying that as well so far. In terms of getting the actual patterns, I have had a designer who will just send PDF updates via email, which works well. And the other 2 designers I'm working with are using Google Docs, which is kind of nice because that's updating different pattern corrections in real time. So another kind of tip, a little bonus tip, I wouldn't really print unless you are a diehard, I need to print my pattern and mark it up person. I try to keep it digital if you're test knitting. Things are changing constantly. And so that is something that I just have found, it saves a little bit more paper that way. Don't be the first one out of the gate. If you're a newer knitter, a newer test knitter, I would say maybe just sit back for a week. Obviously, don't sit back so long that you're feeling nervous about completing the object by the deadline. But I found, so I was finishing up my first test knit while I was accepted to a couple others, and I've already found that some of the more seasoned or advanced knitters in the group are kind of finding some things at the get-go. So what's sort of nice is that you get to have a couple people be the pioneers. And if you sit back, you get to reap the benefits of, oh, they've already found a couple corrections possibly. And then you get to maybe try it with the updated version and then give that feedback in that way. But I find that that's just helpful as somebody who maybe doesn't consider themselves an advanced knitter yet. Or somebody that maybe your technical skills just aren't quite up to that of like a tech editor, for example. But I think everybody's opinion and feedback are totally valuable. But that would just be my kind of tip, just to maybe wait a tiny little bit, just to see kind of what comes out of the design process in that beginning stage where people are choosing different fabrics that they're making with their yarn, and even inspiration like that. It can be fun to kind of see people generate some of that content first before you kind of dive in head first. Another do is pick materials that are inspiring to you. You are working under a time crunch. A lot of the times you want to make sure you're picking a test knit where they're not trying to rush you super fast, but pick something that you're like, I want to pick that up. That's inspiring to me. It's soft, it's colorful, it's fun, it's flashy. Whatever kind of gets you excited to knit, choose that for a test knit. You don't want something to languish in the corner because you're like, oh, I don't really want to work on this, beige sweater right now. I really wish that this was bright red or something. And again, totally different for different people. Maybe a beige sweater is what gets you up in the morning, and that's awesome. I personally love a neutral too. So, but make sure you are excited to work with your materials because that's going to make the test knitting process fun. It's fun to share the pictures with people, and it's just a good way to inspire you to keep going. Another don't I would share, just a little caution, is don't just apply to any test knit. Really consider the finished object and is that something that's going to work in your wardrobe? Are you going to love it? And now obviously we're all trying to get a foot in the door in the beginning, right? And so we might say, I love this designer, I want to support them. I would rather be more of a process knitter than the product knitter in this scenario. And that's totally valid too. But you are keeping the finished object in the end, and a lot of the time it has like really fun memories associated from test knitting. And so making sure you can see that as a staple in your wardrobe or serving a purpose for like a specific event, but just really making sure that you're thinking about the outcome and not just getting swept up with the excitement of, ooh, there's the test knit, please pick me, I want to be in it. Because it does sort of feel that way. You're like, you kind of get wrapped up in like the excitement of a new test knit because it is exciting and we love to support our designers. So I would just say, keep in mind, there will always be more test knits, more calls for test knits. So if it's not a finished object you're really going to treasure, maybe skip it and move on to another pattern, or just wait until that designer releases something else that you were like, oh, I love that, and that would be a perfect staple for me. So another don't that probably would be advice for myself, and I really had to push pause, is don't overcommit. Don't apply for 6 different test knits and then say yes to all of them knowing you're not really going to be able to meet the deadline. I myself was capping myself at 3 this summer, and I probably should have stuck with 2, but I'm going to do it. And I do know I'm going to get them done by the deadline. But I made sure, okay, I really thought about it, mapped it out. Can I get this done? I don't want to disappoint the designers. I really want to put my best foot forward and do a great job for them and give really detailed feedback with great photos. And I know that I couldn't have done that if I'd signed up for 5. Like, it just would not have worked with my schedule and my lifestyle right now with my little kids. And so I adore the patterns I picked though. And so I'm so excited to have them in my closet, and I'm motivated to work on them. So I'm excited, and I know that it will get done. But just a word of caution, again, don't get swept up like me. Sometimes the energy takes you and you're like, I gotta keep applying. This is gorgeous. I want to be in that. I want to be in that. And it's okay to push pause and say, I can also knit it when it is a finalized pattern that's released, and I can support the designer that way too. So just a word of caution, a little self-advice, if you will. My last do is that a lot of designers offer the opportunity to chat with other test knitters. Some of them will say it's mandatory, some will say it's optional. I would say do it. It's super fun. You feel like it's a collective knit-along experience. Everyone's sharing ideas, inspirations, modifications that are approved by the designer. And it's just a really fun community event. And so I think that's part of the reason people love test knitting so much, is that community aspect and meeting other people who are just as fiber crazy as you are. And so it's been super fun, and I've loved seeing everybody's progress, and it's motivating, right? So if somebody's halfway through their sweater and you're swatching, you're like, I want to get to that milestone. That looks amazing. And so I would really suggest put yourself out there. Go ahead and sign up for the chat and come and chat with us, because it's super fun. And I sometimes have to push pause because I get so excited that I just want to keep sharing things. And I have to say, okay, maybe once a day is more than enough, because it's just so much fun to talk about our knits, especially when I have a little bit more time this summer to share about what's going on. So thank you so much for joining me today as I chatted about my first test knit experience, some test knitting do's and don'ts. I would love to hear in the comment section below, do you have any advice for test knitters? What are you working on? Are you in a test knit right now? Maybe you're in the same test knits as I am. Right now I'm working on the Mercer Slipover, the sleeveless version for Tori Yu, which I'm so excited. It feels like a full circle moment because, as you know from my first podcast, that Manhattan hat was what kind of kickstarted this new love of, I would call it hardcore knitting for sure. And so I'm so excited to be working with Tori on one of her newer patterns, and that is such a cute design. I cannot wait to wear that. And then another pattern that I am test knitting, this was the one where I was like, oh, I don't need another test knit, but I do need this. I definitely do. It is the Downtown Market Vest by Limoon Crafted. Holy moly, you guys should check out her patterns. She does this amazing thing where you knit your gauge swatch and then she helps you pick the size from there, because she's really committed to you being able to use the yarn you want to use for the project. And the attention to detail is absolutely impeccable. So I'm so excited to share those journeys with you as well on here. And I can't wait to keep knitting. So have a great day, stay safe, and have a wonderful summer. Thank you.